Horror has been a subtle but persistent undercurrent in Star Wars since the very first film, evident in scenes like the discovery of Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru's charred skeletons, and the Dianoga creature lurking in the Death Star trash compactor. This is because science fiction, which explores the unknown, is fertile ground for horror, which exploits it. This video presents 3 chilling tales that bring horror to the forefront, featuring members of the Skywalker family confronting their own deaths. The first tale sees Princess Leia facing the grim reality of her own mortality. Tilotny throws a shape from The Empire Strikes Back Monthly, number 154. Forced to land on a lifeless planet, Princess Leia is fleeing Imperial soldiers and trips over a stormtrooper helmet buried in the dust. She picks it up and is shocked to discover the helmet looks thousands of years old. With her pursuers closing in and her ankle twisted from the fall, she continues moving until she comes face to face with 4 extraordinary beings. The main entity, Tilotny, has just created a form for itself, and the other 3 followed her lead. She brags that she invented space and time, but Horless is not so sure. The 4 spirits are omnipotent and transdimensional, a trope usually found in Star Trek. One of the spirits, Splendid App, tries to comprehend time but is unable to grasp the concept. While Leia is watching these 4 incredible life forms, the stormtroopers catch up to her. Tilotny changes one of the stormtroopers into a hard crystalline form, killing him instantly. The entity named Horless is inspired and turns Leia's heart into a diamond, killing her as well. Tilotny then merges the remaining 2 stormtroopers into a single life form, which dies in pain. The 4 powerful beings have tired of making shapes, and Tilotny asks the entity named Splendid App to correct the disorder. The stormtroopers, now revived, realize they have been transported thousands of years into the past. In the present, Leia picks herself up off the ground and trudges back to her ship. This unsettling tale was written by Alan Moore, who is no stranger to stories about the macabre, having written Swamp Thing and From Hell. The beings are indifferent to the 4 lives they encounter. Leia and the stormtroopers were mere toys to them, things to manipulate for their amusement. Leia's death is sudden and disturbing, but she is able to leave the planet in the end. The stormtroopers being abandoned on the barren world, however, thousands of years in the past with no resources or means of escape, is terrifying. This black and white story was drawn by John Stokes and was reprinted in color in Devil Worlds number 2 from Dark Horse Comics. Darth Vader is forced to face his sins in our next tale. Dark Lord's Conscience from The Empire Strikes Back Monthly number 155. Darth Vader is playing Firepath with Lady Dole, a strategic game where the pieces are remotely controlled and consumed by fire when they are lost. Dole is glad Vader has agreed to the match, and Vader tells the ruler the Guild of Vindicators also brought him to the planet Cheelet. Outside the palace, 2 stormtroopers are approached by Clat the Shamer. One trooper points his blaster at the robed stranger, but Clat stares into his eyes, and the soldier falls to his knees, tormented by the death of women and children he killed on the planet Kobol. The stormtrooper turns the blaster on himself and squeezes the trigger. Clat then turns to face the other trooper, flooding his mind with images of a woman he killed on the planet Lur. Chat confronts the remaining Imperial stormtroopers guarding the palace, forcing each of them to face their sins. Clat's empathic power is similar to the Man-Thing's touch or even Ghost Rider's penance stare, causing the recipient to relive the horror they inflicted on others. Clat makes it to the room where Vader and Lady Dole are playing. Sent by the Guild of Vindicators, he is there to force Vader to confront the misery he has caused throughout the galaxy. Clat learns quickly that Vader is immune to his empathic powers, and Vader makes a move that results in Clat being burned to death on the game board. Vader then turns to Lady Dole, aware of her involvement in luring him to the planet, and burns her to death as well. Alan Moore also wrote this chilling tale, which is reprinted in color in Devil Worlds number 1 from Dark Horse Comics. When I first read this story years ago, I thought the reason Vader wasn't affected by Clat's stare is he feels no remorse or guilt. It turns out that Vader is consumed with guilt, and he used that pain to fuel his connection to the dark side of the Force. So Klatt is feeding Vader more power when he confronts him. John Stokes' artwork enhances this gothic story by shrouding the characters in shadows. Lady Dole being an octopus-like alien adds to the strange atmosphere. Darth Vader playing a literal game is reminiscent of the cover to Star Wars number 35, which is an allegory of the story inside. Unfortunately, the cover to The Empire Strikes Back monthly number 155 is not related to this intriguing tale. Luke Skywalker confronts his and his friends' deaths in our next tale. Death Masque from The Empire Strikes Back monthly number 149. When Luke Skywalker emerges from hyperspace into the Lapez system, his X-Wing fighter is quickly overwhelmed by Imperial TIE fighters and a Star Destroyer. After Captain Dirk Baylor learns the pilot of the X-Wing is Skywalker, Alton Wuho strolls through the Star Destroyer to a launch bay with a caged, hooded creature. Wuho places the small beast named Reese into a capsule, removes the hood, and launches it at the rebel craft. Luke is busy evading TIE fighters and doesn't see the small pod attach itself to his spaceship. Suddenly, a TIE fighter scores a hit on his X-Wing, forcing Luke to put his ship down on Lapez 3. Luke awakens and is astonished to see the landscape is littered with skulls and bones. He sees a gravesite with a stone marker bearing his name, and he wonders if he survived the crash. Just then, Han Solo and Chewbacca appear on a hill waving, but they are shot from behind and fall over dead. Luke scrambles up the hill and spots the Millennium Falcon crash nearby. Leia calls out to him, and he turns to see her shot from behind as well. As he holds her, she dies and turns to ashes. Darth Vader appears wielding a lightsaber and removes his faceplate, showing a grinning skull underneath. Luke ignites his lightsaber and the two begin dueling. Luke is overwhelmed with fear and flees. He decides to surrender to the Force and let it guide him, and Obi-Wan appears, confirming Luke's choice. Suddenly, the nightmarish landscape gives way to another frightful scene, Reese squatting on Luke's chest in the X-Wing cockpit. Luke knows Reese is a nightmare demon that is telepathically flooding his mind with despair. In the distance, he sees an Imperial shuttlecraft landing and ignites his lightsaber, wounding Reese. Luke, now free, realizes the images he saw were illusions, and he surveys his ship to discover he needs a small component to make it operational. When Wuho emerges from the Imperial craft, Luke is about to steal the shuttle, but Reese telepathically tells Luke that Wuho has the part he needs before dying. Wuho discovers Reese's dead body, and Luke and Wuho fight. Luke is able to throw a lightsaber at Wuho, revealing him to be a droid. Luke retrieves the component from Wuho's body and departs the planet. Steve Moore writes this terrifying tale. The story explains that Reese is a species from the planet Droxine that Luke thought was eradicated before the Clone Wars, and Wuho is able to control Reese because he is a droid. I like John Stokes' art on Dark Lord's Conscience the most, but his depiction of the nightmare demon Reese is truly disturbing. Reese has a primate's body, but with a skull with glowing eyes for a head. It is a really unnerving portrayal. The panels where Reese is perched on Luke's chest sending telepathic images into his mind is the stuff of nightmares. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please click the like button. If you would like to see more content like this one, please subscribe. And as always, leave a comment letting me know what you think.